Welcome back to the Early Weigh-In podcast. This week we head to the Big Apple for, in my opinion, the best pay-per-view of the year, man. Going down this Saturday, UFC 295. We got 2 title fights up for grabs. And it's light heavyweight and heavyweight, man. Like I said, doesn't get any better. We got the return of Jiri Prochazka taking on Alex Pereira at 205. And then it is the interim heavyweight strap, but these are the best 2 contenders in the division, So regardless of John right now, this is looked at as a real heavyweight strap, in my opinion. Fight between Sergei Pavlovich and Tom Aspinall. 13 fights on the card. Excited to get into them, man. Throw it over to you real quick to wrap up how we finished up for UFC Sao Paulo last week.
Mixed bag of results, but we'll start over at your card first. A clean sweep, man. Hard to complain about that at all. You started off the night with Victor Petrino over Modestas Bukauskas. And to be honest with you, I didn't get to watch the card too well, so I'm just going to kind of talk over if you'd like to fill in for the Petrino bout.
Well, I got the takedown in round 1, so easily won round 1, and then check left hook in round 2, put the lights out on Modestas. So
nice. Covered the price tag of minus 225.
Yeah, looked minus 200 in my opinion.
Nice. I did watch the Angela Hill fight. She looked good, man. I guess that she's still got some gas left in the tank. Yeah. I think that fall off is coming, but it was not on Saturday. Definitely a good underdog hit there. And then Mark DeCasey versus Kai Fernandez. The DeCasey bet, it's not one that you like to make just because he makes it dirty. It's not a fun one to win, really, but that was a good play for sure. We both were on this parlay right here, the Caio Borralho and Renat Fakhretdinov fight. I think the draw was best case scenario for Dos Santos. But I'm not upset with the draw by any means. Right. Borralho, I thought he looked good. Didn't necessarily look minus 350. I don't know. He is an odd one to cap, to be honest with you.
So here's one thing about that fight is there was a 3 or 4 minute break, for the eye poke on Caio, and it's had a boost not got that 3 or 4 minutes, I feel like maybe the way it looked in round 3 would have came a little bit sooner in the fight.
Maybe, but it's still, I'm thinking that Caio just rides his back the whole time. There's no
urgency to him
at all. It's annoying. Under 2.5 in the Elves-Brenner versus Krushinski fight, minus 200. Pretty devastating KO, man. Faceplant KO. That was pretty sick. Mora versus Ruiz under 2.5. Man, when Mora came in overweight and you saw her at weigh-ins and everything, you knew that she was about to smash in that spot. That was a great way to look at playing, honestly, Mora.
Right. Instead of playing I think they were the same price, I swear to God.
Yeah, so I definitely like that. You ended up the night plus 5.35 units with a 55% ROI. Definitely a solid night. Looking over at my card, only straight bet of the night was Angela Hill. Now, we had talked about that earlier, or during the week, and I did end up finally getting on that. I was happy because that was about the only hit on my card, My biggest play of the night was the Fakhretdinov and Borralho parlay, which I've hit for 2.75 units. So it ended up just being a Borralho straight bet. And then I had the fight doesn't go the distance in the Fernandez-DeCasey fight. I thought Fernandez was going to wilt a little bit more than he did, but he was able to hang on. And DeCasey, I don't know, man. He's turned into just not a finisher at all. Nascimento versus Dante Mays, fight ends by sub. I don't know. I thought that was a sneaky way to play it. That didn't really have any legs by any means. And then the Lewis by round 1 TKO Junior or Jailton by round 1 sub. I don't know, man. I know. I'm not really sure.
Sketchy ass fight. Minus 3,000 not to see the judges or something.
Right. I don't know how that fight plays out. 50 if that happens 10% of the time, or if that's a 50% of the time bet. Derek Lewis did not look like he could have been submitted by Jailton Almeida, just the way that his body's built. So who knows? That was a tough one, and I feel like I'm kind of lucky considering how the card went to only be minus 1.5 units on the night. So definitely something I can recover from, but looking to change it up coming into this card where we start. Hold on. In the featherweight division between Denis Buzukja and Jamall Emmers. I like Jamall Emmers here, man. I think that he's the more athletic of the two. I think that he's got him in the wrestling. I think he's, there's a puncher's chance for Buzukja, but I'm not really high on him by any means. He's not really shown up whenever he's fighting the higher level of competition, and I think Jamall Emmers is up there with some of the guys that he's been losing to in his 11-3 record. I give Jamall Emmers the edge pretty much everywhere. I've kind of looked at him for a parlay piece, but he makes a lot of his fights so close that it just seems a little reckless to try and put him in a parlay because he rarely covers that price tag, whether he's a favorite or not.
Yeah, man, we see the fight pretty much identically, with Buzukja as a guy that I'm not really too high on as well. I have here, that he can't finish a turkey sandwich, and because he's very little finishing ability. He's been on the Contender Series twice. I think just twice now, and still never got signed. He's just one of those guys that, I don't know, tries to mix in a few takedowns, but doesn't ever really do anything with them. I didn't think the debut was a good look against Sean Woodson, despite short notice, whatever you want to call it. And like you said with Emmers, man, far better athlete, long rangy, has the edge on the feet here, and collegiate wrestler. I think he's going to stop the Buzukja takedowns, make him work real hard for him if he does get one. I like Jamall Emmers here as well. One thing about Denis, though, is he does have a couple friends here fighting on the card, couple teammates, and Frevola and Nazim. So it's like, he's training with guys, peaking at the right time with the guys. So it's one thing he has going for him right now. And you talked about Jamall Emmers making the fights close, low fight IQ. Don't really see high finishing upside there. So I don't necessarily think I can lay the chalk on Jamall Emmers, but I think I can pretty confidently say I think he is going to win the fight, to be honest. Dropping down to flyweight, Joshua Van taking on Kevin Borjas. Seen a lot of love for Josh Van this week. Seems to be kind of an anchor to some people's parlays, and it's kind of like the Emmers side, man. I do think Joshua Van's going to win this fight. I just can't get behind the number. I think it's going to be a decision win for him. I think you got two very young guys who are both going to be improving at big time rates between their fights. They were matched up on the Contender Series before, so they've game planned for each other. What I liked about Joshua Van, though, stepped up, took Zalgas on short notice, and it shows a split on the, on Tapology's record, on his official record there, but the fight wasn't a split to me. He kind of ran away with the fight against Zalgas, which is something that a lot of people really haven't done. Molina, Charles Johnson, arguably could have lost the fight, and Joshua Van left no debate there for me, 120 significant strikes, good cardio. I think he's got the takedown upside here. So I'm going to side with Josh Van. I kind of like the boxing, the body work coming back from Kevin Borjas, but, not made the debut. Joshua Van's already made that walk before, gotten the octagon jitters out of him. So kind of like I said, same thing after seeing the first fight. Line could be maybe a little wide. I think Van's going to take this one by decision, though.
This seems like a fight where you just get some information from these two fighters. Van only being 22 years old, it's tough to trust him, but he does have the the tenacity that I like to see in a fighter. So if he does improve on his skills, he could be a really good player or a really good fighter later on down the line. I'm just not sure if I want to trust him here. Borjas has been spoiler before. He was the underdog against Victor Diaz on the Contender Series. So this is another opportunity where he can, change the minds of the odds makers. I feel like he hasn't really had the opportunity to fight high level guys, and this is kind of a litmus test for both of them. So just a sit back fight for me. I'll pick Joshua Van, but I don't really see the path to victory, which is just another reason why I'm not playing him at this number right here.
I'm with you.
Moving to a catchweight bout, 138 pounds, Kyung Kang versus John Castaneda. From what I've heard online, I think it's the Castaneda side that asked for this. He has had trouble in the past, so it does make sense. This is a tough one, man. I think that Kang's a pretty decent all-around fighter, but he is 36 years old now. He's beating the guys that he should beat, but when he's taking the step up in competition, it's the fight IQ comes to question. whether or not he can really take it to just that next level. And John Castaneda, he's still early enough in his career, and I know he's 31 years old, but it does seem to me like he's still developing his game as we see him enter the octagon time after time. And I do think that he's at a little bit different point in his career. Obviously, the weight miss is a little concerning, so I don't like playing him at juice here, but I think that he's the side just because I think that Kang I don't think I'm going to see anything new out of him here. And I don't think that what he's presented up until this point is enough to justify picking him as a favorite here. So I've got John Castaneda.
I got you. So first disagreement of the night here. I do have a 1 unit shot on King Ho Kong at plus 120, plus 124, something like that. One of the few underdogs that I do like this week, man. I think the only downside to backing Kang is just how close the guy, leaves fights. Like even when he wins or split decision, he wins on very thin margins. But I'm not having to lay juice here. I got the vet. I got the guy who's extremely durable, hasn't been finished in like 12 years. Great experience. I favor him drastically in the cardio. I favor him drastically in the grappling. And I do think the weight miss, requesting it to be 138, we've already seen that someone's pressure, can really get to. John Castaneda can kind of break him. And I think that's kind of what's going to happen here. I think King Ho Kong's grappling presence, his cardio, his speed on the feet, I think it's going to get to Castaneda late. I think he's going to really start to take over this fight as it goes down the stretch. With Castaneda, he's just kind of one of these guys, decent everywhere, but doesn't blow me out of the water, in any aspect of his game. And I've tried to fade him successfully with Daniel Santos. I think we both were on Muin Gafurov. I think I bet him against John Castaneda last time as a dog. Castaneda is somebody that I definitely don't mind fading, especially when I'm getting plus money on the other side. You got the over 2.5 lined at minus 230, so it's likely going the distance. I think I favor Kang and his fighting ability to win that on the scorecards. I don't know. The line screams dog or pass to me here, requesting the weight miss and everything with that pressure already being an issue for Castaneda. I thought it was worth the 1 unit shot at plus 120 for me. Moving on, lightweight, we got Jared Gordon taking on Mark Madsen. And I did get in early on Jared Gordon. I've got this guy at minus 155 with full intentions of doubling down. The line's just kind of gotten away from me now. So I told you I was kind of looking at playing like maybe a round 3 decision or something like that to try to get some more units on him, because I do like Jared Gordon a lot in this spot here. I thought the Olympic wrestler, quote unquote, would kind of see some love. Jared talking in the interview after the Bobby Green fight, I thought the line was going to be the other way. Just happened to be wrong here. I think Gordon's a great counter wrestler. The only type of guys you see rack up like control time on Jared Gordon are guys who have phenomenal jiu-jitsu, like Selecki and Dawson, guys who are able to get the back and control you. That's not Madsen's game whatsoever. He's a Greco-Roman guy, relies on the body lock, takedowns. I don't think that style translates well over to MMA to begin with. He's got to work very hard for a lot of his takedowns. I think that's going to be a detriment to his cardio. And Jared Gordon's got some of the best cardio on the roster here. I favor him drastically on the feet. Younger, I don't know, man. All signs point to Jared Gordon here. I told you earlier, looking at his Tapology page, the guy was 11-1 to decisions, with the only loss being to Paddy Pimblett, which arguably should have gone his way. So we're talking about a guy who could be 12-0 on the judges' scorecards. He really knows how to win a fight, man. And while the knock was his chin for the longest time, it's decent guys like Oliveira and Joaquin Silva, guys with good power putting him out. I don't see that with Mark Madsen, man. So I'm all over Jared Gordon here to get the job done.
Yeah, you definitely have a more passionate take on this fight than I do. Jared Gordon's younger, but definitely not young, Yeah. He's got some fight miles on him and some life miles on him. And what's keeping me away from this fight is I don't really see him finishing this fight. And that being said, he probably is going to make it a close fight, because I don't think that he's going to have success early in the fight when Madsen still has gas. I think that first round is going to be really tough for him. And then now he's at a disadvantage and he's not going to be able to finish, in my head. So that's where he's going to fall behind. Although I do agree that his cardio is much better, but I'm just not sure if he's going to have enough significant damage in the later rounds to swing the judges in his direction. At least safely, enough for me to want to play him at minus 200. So I think the fight's going to be good. I think that there's probably going to be a better line after the first round because I do see Mark Madsen having success being the much physically stronger guy of the two if they do lock up.
I think that's how the Sadykov fight went. I'm pretty sure Sadykov took round 1, Gordon taking 2 and 3. So I mean, I could very well see that, and that's where I kind of was looking at maybe doubling down on the decision since he should be 12-0 and don't have to lay the -200 there.
Right, and I also, like I said, there's not much finishing upside on the Gordon side, and Mark is pretty tough. So yeah, I feel you. I like the Gordon decision if I was going to play the fight like that. Moving up, staying in the same division, Nazim Sadykov taking on Viacheslav Borshchev, Slava Claus.
Yes, sir.
This one may be the the most line movement out of any of the fights this week. Slava Claus opened as a significant dog, and then people started to realize, hey, this fight might take place on the feet. Right. And Slava Claus is a really good kickboxer. The problem with this one is that there are people who think that because of who Sadykov trains with, that he will be shooting for takedowns against Borshchev, which Borshchev has shown that he has problems with in the past. But I'm not necessarily sold that he's going to be able to do that. I think that this is a really, really close fight. I'd be looking for the over on this fight than anything, but I'm probably staying away from this one as well. I think that there are better spots on the card.
I think this is extremely
well, I'm going to go man, I don't even have a pick. I think it's going to be a really close decision. I'll go Nazim Sadykov and just go with the bookmakers for this one.
Yeah, extremely volatile fight. I don't recommend putting money on this one either. I think the fight's like flying underneath the radar. I think this is a slept on fight on the card. Like, I think it's going to be, both of them are good, really good, like exciting fighters. And Nazim has this type of like arrogance to him. And if he comes in here and gives Slava Claus the fight that he wants, I don't know, man. I'm not sold on Nazim as the favorite. I just, you got a striking coach at Team Alpha Male and Slava. He is nasty on the feet, and he actually can fight very well moving backwards. I like the way that he works the body as well. And while his takedown defense sucks, man, I mean, the sub game and defense and the get-up game, they're not bad. He makes guys work to get him down. He gets back to his feet. He hasn't been submitted in the UFC so far, I don't believe. I don't know, man. I kind of was interested in looking at Slava when he was a bigger underdog earlier in the week, but as the line closes, Nazim is the one who could mix things up and land the takedowns here. And he does have really good forward pressure. Despite being, willing to eat shots to land his own, he does have really good forward pressure, and that is the type of style that I think could negate and, the Slava Claus side. I think he needs some room to work, likes to throw his kicks, and if Nazim's on his pressure game here, he can kind of stifle that, land a couple takedowns. So I'm going to side with Nazim, but man, I am with you. Hard to even come out on a side here. I'm going to just sit back and enjoy that one. Moving on, first ladies fight of the night, I do believe we talked about. We got Tabitha Ricci versus Lupita Godinez. Another spot that I'm on. I do have one unit on Lupita at -130, and seems to be taking some money. She's up to like -175 at this point. It is WMMA. I see people saying it's going to be a close fight, going to go the distance. And normally I'm like, yeah, the value is going to be on the dog here. I don't see where Tabitha has the advantages. If these girls put on a gi and, go to the jiu-jitsu gym, maybe Tabitha submits her. But as far as an MMA, man, I think Lupita's got the wrestling to keep this on the feet. I don't think Tabitha's going to be successful getting her down, and I think Lupi's got the better gas tank. Ricci's got a muscle-up frame, and she does slow down. I think if anybody finds top time here, it's Godinez. I like the boxing of Godinez. So it's like everywhere the fight goes, I do favor Lupi there. So I look at her online, training with Grasso, Aldana, with Lopes and Costa both on this card. I laid the juice on some women's MMA, man. I really like Lupi to win here on Saturday.
Yeah, share the same sentiment. I think it's Lupi's fight to lose. She matches Tabitha and Tabitha's strengths, and I think that she should edge out in the spots where, it's where it's going to be close. I think Lupi edges it out. I like her at the minus 130. I don't like her at the current price tag. I think that even though both of these girls are pretty good, we're still talking about lower level women's MMA, and it's a spot where I'm okay with laying off of for here. But I do like the minus 130 number. We skip over the Rebecki Roberts fight.
I had it after this one. They might have flip-flopped on Tapology. I had it coming up next.
Okay. All right. Well, moving on. I'll take Lupita Godinez as well. I think it'll be a close decision. Something like that. Lightweight division, Mateusz, Rebecki, and Roosevelt Roberts. Roosevelt Roberts, he's had his little stint in the UFC and fought his way back now, I guess, technically. He's stepping in on short notice. Mateusz, Rebecki, he looks really solid. He's another one of these guys similar to Kang or Castaneda, Kang. I don't know. He has a lot of MMA experience. He's over the age of 31, and I don't really think that we're going to see him develop his game much more, but he does bring a lot of really good things to the octagon. He's got an insane pressure. I do think that Roosevelt Roberts, being the body style that he is, he's not very physically strong. He'll probably get just out wrestled here. Mateusz is going to have a significant strength advantage, and he'll probably throw him around for as long as this lasts. The odds are like minus 600, and I think that it probably reflects that on Saturday. I'm looking, not really even looking. I think it's like minus 185 for Mateusz inside the distance, but that's how I figured this fight will go, is he'll end up breaking Roosevelt over the course of 15 minutes.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'd put that. I think it could be. Well, not that it could be, but I think Rebecki might minus 800 for his style. I think that pressure style, that cardio, the way he likes to wear on guys. Typically, I like a minus 700 to get like a quick 2 or 3 minute finish. And I feel like his style predicates on breaking Roosevelt in round 2 or 3. Not that you're going to get a better line or anything, but just more opportunity for Roosevelt, being 6 foot whatever, to lock up some sneaky choke or something. Not that I think it's going to happen. I do think Rebecki grinds him on the fence, lands some takedowns, and I do think he finds the round 2 or 3 finish. But again, for me to lay minus 700 on a fighter, I want a quicker finish than that. Might take a look at if you're saying minus 180, could take a look at that as well, man. Prelim main event at flyweight, we got Steve Erceg taking on Alessandro Costa. This was a fight that I was staring at for the longest time, about debating on betting Steve Erceg, and I wake up and the guy's minus 200 the next day, and just, I don't know, can't force a play on him at that odds, but I do think he has a pretty good edge here, man. I think he has a nice size edge, like in reach and height, but I feel like technicality on the feet definitely swings to Steve Erceg's side. Outside of just like the fight-ending power of a fight, he's much better. His cardio is great. His fight IQ was great. I like the submission and grappling upside here. With Costa, I like his calf kick. I like the way he works the body, but I just feel like everything's thrown a bit wider than Steve is. I feel like Steve's a little bit cleaner, like I said. Those his shot to a lot straighter, could beat him to the punch. It's moved to the prelim main event, so the UFC likes somebody here. They like some violence. I like some violence too. I think we see Erceg get a round 2 or 3 finish, but I'm going to be laying off.
I don't think it's a bad spot to lay off, man. Erceg, he caught Dvorak on like a 3-fight skid when he did beat him. Outside of that, he's been relatively untested on the regional scene. I do think that this is another spot where just download some information for the future fights, because Costa, in my head, I think if you take that Albazi loss out of the equation, this is probably lined a little bit closer. And Amir Albazi smashes both these guys. Right. So it's like hard to take much from that. Because before that, he's riding a 7-fight win streak coming into it, beats Jimmy Flick relatively easily. And Flick hasn't looked the greatest, so that's not like the biggest feather in your cap. But he can win at a UFC level. I'm not sure that Erceg has quite earned this price tag. And it being 125 pounds, like, I don't really see a finish unless it's on the Costa side. So I'm okay with laying off of this one, maybe looking at the over. Moving on to the first fight of the main card, Pat Sabatini taking on Diego Lopes. I'm on the Diego Lopes side. I think that he's going to be the more dangerous guy out there. As far as the grappling goes, I think Sabatini has a significant wrestling advantage, and Diego Lopes, being the BJJ specialist he's more than happy to work off his back or give up takedowns. But he is the more dangerous of the two fighters. I think that if he is back on the mat for the majority of the fight, he's going to be throwing up a lot of submissions, and Pat Sabatini is going to have to be really measured over the course of 15 minutes to avoid getting caught in something. And then if Diego Lopes is able to work to his feet, and Sabatini does start to slow down, I think that Diego throws the much more powerful shots. He's got the pressure and the doesn't care to get taken down, so he's more than willing to push that pressure, and he could break Sabatini on the feet as well. So I think Diego Lopes wins this. I think he wins it inside the distance more often than not. So the play that I made was Diego Lopes, scorecards, no action. I'm in it for 3 units, and I think we feel pretty similar on this fight.
Yes, sir, man. I'm about to reiterate a lot of the same things that you just said. I feel like it goes very, very similar to the Evloev fight. You know, it's going to be Pat forcing the wrestling and Diego being dangerous every fucking minute of the fight, you know. And while I don't think Pat's as good of a wrestler as Evloev, he has better jiu-jitsu than Evloev, and he might find success grinding Lopes out a little bit more. And, you know, that's kind of why I like your play so much, man. If you blindly ask me if this fight was finished and you were like, who finished this fight? 75% of the time, I'm telling you it's Diego Lopes that's finishing the fight. You know, I feel like all the decision equity is on the wrestler and Pat. And like you said, has to fight a very, very measured approach. I put here, I feel like he's got to fight a perfect fight for 15 minutes. The durability, the volatility, the finishing upside, it all points to the underdog here, man. And so I wanted to find a way to pull the trigger on the underdog as well. FanDuel released just a slightly better line, but I'm on that. I'm a finish only on prop for Lopes. I feel like if he loses this fight, he's getting grinded out to a decision by a wrestler, and we're getting the wager back. I really, really like that play, man. I feel like it's one of the best plays on the card this week. Moving on to a killer fight, man. I was kind of hoping this one would stay at the pay-per-view opener. We got Matt Frevola taking on Benoit Saint Denis. I don't really know what to think about this fight. I think the fight can go in many, many different directions. I think it could hit the under 1.5 like it has lined. I feel like it can slip over and have a finish. I feel like it can go to decision. And, man, Matt Frevola to me is just a little bit more tested. I do get that there's a bit durability concerns for Matt Frevola, as he has been knocked out twice, been dropped numerous occasions. Benoit is a massive lightweight, going to be the bigger guy who with good forward pressure. And I did try to fade him hard against Thiago Moises, and I was left almost even more impressed with Benoit Saint Denis, man. 5 takedowns, 100 significant strikes. The fight doesn't even make it to round 3. It's things that you like to see. But I just think Frevola's paid his dues, man. I think Frevola's tested. I think Frevola can absolutely crack. And Benoit Saint Denis, I know he's tough. He's shown me that he's tough. But anybody that can knock out Drew Dober can knock out Saint Denis, man. He's in his backyard. I have felt the energy live from a Matt Frevola crowd in Atlanta before. It is going to be nuts in his backyard in New York on Saturday, man. I thought with plus 185, if it goes late, I actually do. I don't think BSD is going to find the wrestling success on Matt Frevola as he has with some other guys like Ismael Bonfim and Thiago Moises. I think Matt can keep it up on the feet. I really like Matt's cardio. I like Matt's submission upside. I like his guillotines. I don't know, man. At plus 185, I was willing to roll the dice here. But again, props to your BSD bet against Ismael Bonfim. I think that's your second best bet of the year behind Jonathan Martinez.
I definitely enjoyed being on that BSD side for sure. But man, I can't seem to shake staying on his side for this fight. Like you said, like I think that there's a lot of finishing upside, but I got to give it all to Benoit Saint Denis here. I've seen him rocked. I don't think that Frevola hits as hard as Elizu Zaleski dos Santos, and dos Santos couldn't get him out of the fight. When it comes to like who I think would win in a war of attrition, like I'm going BSD. He's proven he can take that ass whooping, and although Matt Frevola's hype train that he's on right now is awesome, he's riding a 4-fight first-round knockout streak. Like that's probably not going to continue for much longer, although it's been awesome. But we've seen his limitations in the past, and we've seen that especially early, if he's not prepared, he can get caught. I just think, like I said, if this becomes a war of attrition, I just lean towards the Benoit Saint Denis side, although it's not like he has some significant advantage anywhere in this fight. I trust his chin a little bit more. I trust him whenever it gets down to a dog fight. Although Frevola has looked really good in the opening minutes of dog fights.
Yeah.
So, I'm going with Benoit Saint Denis here, but I'm not laying the minus 225 because I do think that it's going to be a little bit of a rock'em sock'em type fight. Moving on to the featured bout of the pay-per-view, Jessica Andrade taking on Mackenzie Dern at strawweight. I don't see very many people on Andrade at all, and I don't blame them, man. Like the Erin Blanchfield fight's a really tough one to look past. Andrade, she landed a little bit early, but it's just the moment that she gets taken down, she's like a fish out of water. Mackenzie Dern's only going to be more dangerous on the mat than Erin Blanchfield. And then Mackenzie Dern in her last fight against Angela Hill, putting together a striking 25-minute striking clinic. That looked really, really good. As far as where they're at in their careers, Jessica Andrade, definitely confidence is not in her corner. She's getting paid a lot of money now, and she's having to face really, really hard competition. She's not losing to girls that are bad by any means, but it's got to do a lot to your psyche whenever you're coming off of 3 straight losses. Mackenzie Dern, on the other hand, it does look like she's got a fire lit under her. I don't think that physically she's looked better in her entire career. She looks amazing on the embeddeds. And I do think that she has just like a crazy advantage on the ground. She's shown the durability in her past fights that I think that she can take some of those huge bombs from Andrade. And then if it extends, we've seen Andrade not look great in the later rounds, especially of late. So I've got Mackenzie Dern here. Another one where it's like I'm kind of looking to play her as a parlay piece, but the minus 200-ish range is solid.
Yeah, I've got 2 units down on her. I think minus 210. I feel like she's the clear A side, man. She's improving like massively, man. I mean, the Angela Hill fight was a clear step in the right direction. Best Mackenzie Dern's ever looked on the feet. And go back a fight, man. 5 rounds with Yan Jiaonan. I mean, she held her own for sure, man. And that's elite girls in the division. And despite only being 31 years old, I think the decline is far present there in Andrade. She's got a ton of fight miles. She gets finished in almost all of her losses. She's in the midst of the divorce right now, talking about having to fight for money and stuff for it. I just don't even think her head's mentally in the right space. And when this fight hits the mat, I think it's game over. 10 of the last 12 Andrade fights haven't seen the scorecards. And Mackenzie Dern, I feel like, has tons of finishing upside. I think she can rock Jessica Andrade. She's got power. I think she can then jump the sub. I like Mackenzie Dern here, and I like the under 2.5 at minus 175 here as well. Glad to hear your thoughts high on Mackenzie as well, man. And then to the big boys, main and co-main and main event, man. First one up at heavyweight, Sergei Pavlovich taking on Tom Aspinall. I said it when the fight got booked, man. You like John Jones a ton. I love John Jones a ton. This is a better fight than Jones and Stipe to me, man. This is a legitimate active contenders on the winning streak. I think it keeps the division moving. It's a fight that, like, no way in hell it goes the distance. I really fucking like this fight a lot, man. I've put a lot of tape into this fight this week, and
not a lot of tape.
Well, yeah, I know. All of 6 minutes for Pavlovich. I just feel like Tom's a far superior martial artist, man. I feel like he's way more rounded and he has way more ways that he can win this fight. The footwork is on another level. Speed, he's always been talked about as just representing this new breed at heavyweight. And from what I can tell, I do expect improvements from Pavlovich, man, but the grappling upside to me is clearly in the favor of Tom if he blasts one of those doubles that he has, man, or one of those body lock entries that he did on Volkov. It's fast, it's slick, and it's technical, man. It's stuff that you don't typically see with a heavyweight, where Pavlovich is what you typically see with the heavyweight. It's just kind of a one-dimensional guy with stupid power. And even more impressive to me, man, he took some shots from Curtis Blades and he just walked forward. They weren't even phasing the dude. He just trusts his power way more than guys. And it's crazy because the power's in the jab, like the Tuivasa finish has started with the jab. The Blades fight, I know technically he catches him with the big overhand right that kind of sets him down at first. The finishing sequences started with a jab. Like this guy throws an overhand right around your guard. And when you think you're safe, he exits with a jab, and he's got like an 80-inch reach, and he's got deadly power behind it. I like what I see from Pavlovich, but I keep going back to how many ways Tom Aspinall can win this fight. I feel like on the feet, he's the cleaner striker, can wear out the legs, has the better boxing. If this goes to the mat, it's Tom. If it happens to go to rounds 2 or 3, I think that favors Tom, and I only had to pay -110 to see it. So I'm on Tom Aspinall for 2 units, man. I think he comes out on top. And I got a nice little stupid round 2-3 sub, but like plus 1,300. It would be nice if he could degenerately cash for me.
I've got a different look at playing this. Also, I think I wind up on the Pavlovich side, man. Mostly because of durability. I think that Pavlovich is the more durable of the two. To me, I watched the interviews this week of Tom, and I don't know how many times he's going to bring up that he wishes he would have gotten longer than 2 weeks to have this camp. It seems like he's got this seed of doubt that he's laying, like the foundations for excuses. And then in the press conference today, he says he has a good relationship with fear, but he's just constantly like, yeah, this scary motherfucker across from me. He's just constantly commenting on it. I'm not sure if I like that mindset. He might say that he likes it, but it just seems like he's being honest, and that doesn't necessarily translate to him being able to overcome that. Similar to like Cowboy Cerrone, like Cowboy's honest with how he feels about his fights pre-fight. That's not really the mindset I like of somebody. I want somebody like Sergei Pavlovich, where it's like, nobody can stop me type mindset. He's not scared of anybody. And then I look at the type of fights that the UFC has been putting Aspinall against versus Sergei Pavlovich. You tell me when you hear a knockout artist on Aspinall's record: Jake Collier, Alain Boudreaux, Arlovsky, Spivak, Volkov, Blades, Tybura. At the UFC level, none of those guys hit that hard. I really don't think so. And even the one that did hit the hardest, Curtis Blades, I don't know. Aspinall showed, he talked about retirement after that knee injury. I don't like his mindset at that point, where you look at Sergei Pavlovich and they're throwing him in the ring against Derek Lewis and Tai Tuivasa. Like, they're giving him those fights where it's just a car wreck right at the center of the octagon. And that's how I see this fight. I think it's going to be these two guys, car wreck in the center of the octagon, and we're going to get a sub 1 minute type fight. The Tuivasa and the Derek Lewis fight, 55 seconds of the first round. I think that we're going to see two guys who, Aspinall, I really don't think he's seen a power puncher yet in the UFC. Those have been really favorable matchups where he has the opportunity to showcase his skills as a mixed martial artist, where now it's, hey, look, you've got 1 minute to get prepared for the hardest puncher, you've ever seen in the octagon. And I do think that that's going to catch him off guard. And I trust Pavlovich's durability, at least early, similar to Francis Ngannou. He's throwing the heat, and we've seen Francis get tagged a few times. We've seen Pavlovich get tagged a couple of times on his entries because they are a little bit sloppy. But I do think that just pure car wreck, I got Pavlovich. Although I would totally agree that Aspinall has, at least to, from what we can gather from his credentials as a grappler, the better ground game. He looks to be a little bit faster and have a little bit better footwork and movement. I'm just not sure he's going to be able to use any of that with Pavlovich charging forward at him. So I think that this fight ends in round 1. I got it at Pick'em's -110, and that has since moved a little bit. I do think that somebody goes down here. I know that it's super high level, and we just got screwed on that last week, which I was a little hesitant to try and get on it this week, but I'm happy with that bet, man. I do think that we're going to see somebody fall right here for the heavyweight interim championship.
Yeah, with these two guys, 50% of the time, I think it does end in round 1. So
that's what I'm saying. Like, try not to overthink it. Like, it definitely could happen where Pavlovich or Aspinall don't get caught in that first round, and Aspinall can win in the second or third round. But I don't know. I line this similar to last weekend's 5-round fight where -10,000, it doesn't go to decision. I'm with you. Moving up to the main event, the vacant light heavyweight championship between Jiri Prochazka and Alex Pereira. Man, this one's pretty awesome, dude. This is a striker's delight right here. I do think that Alex Pereira is proven that he is a better striker, pure striker, at least technically. But Jiri Prochazka, I think that he's got his way of fighting is impossible to replicate. He's unique. He's one of a kind, and he's got a body that allows him to really utilize his athleticism, catch people off guard. And I do think that he punches a whole lot harder than anybody Pereira's faced in the UFC up until this point. Yeah. And we have seen Pereira get chin checked. This is another one where I'm kind of tempted to play the KO. I want to get both guys KO because I do see Jiri opening up on one of those blitzes and getting caught by a counter hook by Pereira. But at the same time, I think if Jiri touches him with any of his lunging shots, that Pereira's going to crumble. I think that this is an awesome, awesome fight. I lean Pereira just because he is the more technical of the two. And I think if you played it 100 times, that technique would shine through. This is only one time, though. He's only got one time. So I've got Jiri. I've got Jiri here. I think just having a little bit more power, he'll get the job done, finish it.
So we're going to end on 2 disagreements here. I do got a unit shot on Alex Pereira here, but I took it at -145. Typically trying to pride myself on getting the best number, drop the ball here. I really didn't see the market coming back on Jiri here. I do as well try to typically stay away from main events, but it was a spot that was kind of hard to pass up for me at the -145 price tag because I think Alex could come out here and look -300. I just think he performs better at 205. I think he's a lot healthier, and I do think he packs the same amount of punch that could get Jiri out of here. I think Jiri, if he was smart, he comes out here and he, spams takedowns. But I think he's content to bang it out and give us an exciting fight, man. And I think his defensive liabilities are really going to get him in trouble here against a technical striker like Alex. He's also fought 25 minutes with the main training partner of Alex. They've got experience. They got a lot of tape to look at. And, Jiri was hurt numerous times in that fight by Glover. And I think Alex is faster, sharper, everything than Glover, You also throw in the layoff, whether it's USADA suspension or it is a shoulder surgery. I don't think the same Jiri Prochazka is coming back on Saturday. So, so I think that's in there as well. I don't know, man. I don't see it going past 3 rounds. I think Alex Pereira gets the first or second round TKO with that left hook. The way he chops you down, throws that jab to the body. Jiri already has his hands low. The left hook's open all day long. It's Alex's specialty. So it's 2 great fights to end the night on. I'm going to go with Alex Pereira.
Little surprising that Jiri's only 31 years old, man.
That is surprising. And I saw, somebody
just turned 31.
Damn, that's good. That's good. Well, I saw somebody also say something about his King Mo fight, and they were like, well, he got slept by King Mo. And I was looking at his Tapology page this week, and that was like a tournament shit. So he was like, he had fought like I think twice in the same day or something like that. And King Mo was the second fighter. It was something
and he's
like
like
that.
24 doing it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't even knock him on that as well. I just do, I think he's the kind of the cards are stacked against him here in terms of his technicality, his return off injury and stuff. And Alex could be catching him at the right time. So I'm going to go with Alex Pereira here to get the job done. I'm pumped for this on Saturday, man. We got 13 total fights, and they're all absolute killer fights. I think we got violence all over the main card. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us for 45 minutes, breaking those down. We'll catch you guys next week.
Peace.